I search for her face in every crowd. Her soul lives in me, though her body is far. I write with tears, not ink, and my heart still whispers her name. These are the haunting lines from a poem penned by none other than Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, the Crown Prince of Dubai. But who is this poem for? Why would one of the most powerful and admired royals in the world, a man with power, wealth, and prestige, write with such sorrow, such longing, and such heartbreak? Today we dive deep into a story that very few truly know. A story not just of a prince, but of a man. A man torn between duty and desire, between tradition and love, between what the world expected of him and what his heart truly craved. This is the untold love story of Sheikh Hamdan, one that has remained behind palace walls and poetry pages until now. Sheikh Hamdan is known around the world as a visionary, a leader, a poet, and often as the most handsome prince alive. But beyond the public appearances and ceremonial elegance lies a deeply emotional and profoundly complex love life, one that continues to stir curiosity and speculation. Let's begin where it all changed, with his marriage. On June 6, 2019, Sheikh Hamdan married Sheikha bint Saeed bin Thani Al Maktoum. She's not just anyone, she's his first cousin, the daughter of his mother's sister. A marriage not born out of love, but of legacy, tradition, and political alignment. In royal families, especially in the Gulf, marriages often carry far more weight than just companionship. They're alliances. And Sheikh Hamdan, as the crown prince, had little choice. But here's the twist. Even before this grand wedding that echoed through Dubai's golden halls, Sheikh Hamdan's heart was already elsewhere. For years, he had secretly loved another woman, a woman not bound to royal lineage, a woman whose name was never officially revealed, but whose presence was felt deeply in every line of his poetry. He wrote for her, he fought for her, and he tried to stop his arranged marriage, not once, but multiple times. Friends close to the family whispered about long conversations behind closed doors, about passionate pleas and hidden tears. But the decision had been made. His marriage to Sheikha was going to happen, whether he wanted it or not. So he stood at the altar that day, a prince adorned in tradition, but with a heart divided. Sheikha, on her end, truly loved him. She grew up admiring the strong, poetic boy who would become Dubai's future leader. For her, it wasn't just a marriage, it was a dream fulfilled. But for Sheikh Hamdan, love wasn't something that could be arranged. And so, what was supposed to be the beginning of a royal fairy tale began with silence, distance, a sense of emptiness that neither gold nor grandeur could fill. They tried. For a while, they tried to make it work. And during that time, Sheikh Hamdan wrote some of the most beautiful and most sorrowful poetry of his life. Words laced with regret, with guilt, with yearning, words that only those who truly loved and lost would understand. Then one day, Sheikha discovered the truth, the existence of another woman, another love, another life that Sheikh Hamdan had kept hidden from the palace halls. That revelation shattered the fragile peace they had built. Soon after, she left, quietly, without drama, without headlines. The public knew nothing. The royal family said nothing. But behind the silence was a storm. Many people started questioning. Were they divorced? Why wasn't Sheikha seen in public again? Where did she go? But no newspaper ever confirmed a divorce. No royal statement was made, and if you search even today, you'll find her listed as his wife. But what happened next changed everything. After Sheikha left, Sheikh Hamdan reunited with the woman he had loved for so long. Away from the eyes of the world, away from royal protocol. And not long after, she became his second wife. The woman of his poems, his passion, and the mother of his children. Her identity remains cloaked in mystery, perhaps deliberately so. But those who've seen glimpses of her say she carries a rare beauty, not just of appearance, but of soul. She understood the man behind the prince, the man who bled emotions into poetry, the man who craved freedom in a world built on duty. Their love was real, but it wasn't easy. Because love, in a palace, comes with conditions, and not everyone approved of this chapter of his life. Then came another turning point. The death of Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the president of the UAE, a loss that shook the nation and altered the course of Sheikh Hamdan's destiny. In the wake of that tragedy, Sheikh Hamdan's father, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, reminded him of his greater role. The crown prince wasn't just a title. It was a burden, a future, a nation watching. And with that reminder came a request to stabilize, to return to the royal framework, to consider rebuilding ties with Sheikha Thani Al Maktoum. Not necessarily out of love, but out of duty, out of legacy. This was not an ordinary father-son conversation. This was the ruler of Dubai speaking to his heir. Imagine the turmoil. On one hand, the woman who bore his children. On the other, the woman he had wronged. The woman his family wanted him to reconcile with. He couldn't undo the past. He couldn't deny his love. But he also couldn't escape his destiny. So, Sheikh Hamdan did what he always does when his soul feels too heavy. He wrote. One of the most heart-wrenching poems was published on June 29th. In it, he doesn't name her, but the words are soaked in emotion. I wish for a soul without a body, a home without walls, a love without wounds, lines that reveal a man torn between two worlds. And what about Sheikha? Where is she now? According to the most recent updates, she has returned to Dubai. There are whispers that the two are in touch again, maybe for the sake of the family, maybe out of forgiveness, maybe even out of a different kind of love. Not the kind that starts with butterflies, but the kind that grows from pain, forgiveness, and shared history. They may not be romantically together, but they are walking a path again, together, or side by side. And what about his second wife, the woman of his poems? She remains far from public view. She chose a life of love over a life of spotlight. And perhaps that's why Sheikh Hamdan loves her even more. He once said in a poem, I fell in love with the silence between her words, because that's where she held me the tightest. Sheikh Hamdan continues to lead, to serve his people, to honor his duties. But behind the polished photographs and official statements, there is still a man whose heart has been at war for years, a prince who was forced to choose, a poet who turned his heartbreak into verses, a father who now only wants peace for his children, and perhaps, one day, for himself too. In this story, there are no villains, only choices, hard ones. Sheikh Mohammed wanted to protect the family legacy. Sheikha wanted to love and be loved. The second wife wanted to be chosen, not hidden. And Sheikh Hamdan, he just wanted to live and love freely. This is not a fairy tale, this is real. This is the life of a modern prince, trapped between the golden past and the uncertain future. So the next time you hear his poetry, or see his name in the headlines, remember, behind the crown is a man who once said, they told me to marry for the kingdom, but no kingdom can fill the space she left behind. A decision that once again placed him at a crossroads, between the life he had built with love and the life he was born into with responsibility. As of now, the palace remains silent, but Sheikh Hamdan's poetry continues to speak. About love lost and love found. About heartbreak, duty, and longing. It reminds us that even the most powerful hearts are not immune to pain. That behind every royal curtain, there is a human story. Raw, real, and often hidden. Thank you for listening to this emotional journey into Sheikh Hamdan's love story. If this moved you, if you felt even a fraction of what he felt, then you already know, this story is far from over. For more untold truths, unheard emotions, and unseen sides of the Crown Prince Hamdan, make sure to follow, subscribe, and stay with us. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we uncover the hearts behind them. Until next time, remember, every heart has a history the world never sees.